The victims being hailed a hero for putting the lives of many before his own is this man, Antonius Aung.
Captain Rikueda Mafella was about to take off on flight 6231 from Palu, Indonesia, on an ordinary night, clear skies, ready passengers, and everything running smoothly. Then, unexpectedly, he heard a whisper only he could perceive, urging him to leave immediately. Defying routine, he took off 3 minutes early, a choice that would save 148 lives. What was that mysterious voice, and what disaster was waiting just minutes away? Let's explore. Captain Rikueda Mafella had flown many routes across Indonesia. For him, flying was a precise science based on strict checklists and discipline, ensuring safety on every flight. On a September evening in Palu, despite perfect weather and a ready crew, an unusual, urgent feeling took hold of him. A voice inside insisted, "Leave now. Don't wait." This inner pressure conflicted with his training, as early takeoff broke strict schedules and risked safety in his career. His rational mind tried to dismiss the feeling, since all protocols were followed and the plane was ready. Still, the voice grew louder, signaling an unseen threat. Finally, Mafella decided to request takeoff 3 minutes ahead of schedule. Though surprised, his crew trusted his judgment, knowing he never made reckless choices. They prepared for the early departure, confident in their captain's instincts. When Captain Mafella requested immediate takeoff clearance, Air Traffic Controller Antonius Unawareness sensed an unusual urgency in his voice. Unlike typical requests, Mafella's tone was determined, not panicked or fearful. Normally, early departures needed detailed coordination to avoid conflicts. But Aung trusted his instinct and quickly cleared Flight 6231 for takeoff without delay. Mafella felt relieved as the voice in his mind quieted slightly. He pushed the throttles, and the Boeing A320 rolled down the runway with 148 passengers, unaware their departure had been moved up by 3 minutes. Some noticed the early takeoff, others settled in for the flight. Though calm outwardly, Mafella still sensed danger ahead. As the plane climbed away from Palu, it unknowingly escaped a disaster unfolding on the ground. Those 3 critical minutes had just saved everyone aboard. What would you do if you sensed danger moments before disaster struck? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. At 6:05 p.m. local time, just 3 minutes after Flight 6231 took off from Palu, a powerful earthquake measuring 7.5 struck nearby. Its epicenter was offshore in Palu Bay, causing both violent shaking and a massive seawater displacement. The airport's runway cracked and buckled, making takeoffs impossible. Buildings, including the terminal and the control tower, were severely damaged. Windows shattered, power failed, and equipment fell. High above the disaster, Captain Mafella and his crew saw the earthquake's destruction from about 1,500 feet. The Palu coastline, once calm, was now collapsing. Buildings crumbled, roads split, and the ocean produced huge circular waves growing into towering walls of water. The shape of Palu Bay funneled the tsunami's force directly toward the city, amplifying its power. Mafella tried repeatedly to contact Palu Control Tower but met only silence, signaling the collapse of vital ground support for aircraft. As Flight 6231 escaped the disaster, Mafella felt both relief and helplessness. Fires broke out, emergency vehicles struggled, and thousands below had no warning. Had they departed on time, the plane would have been trapped on a damaged runway. The 3-minute early takeoff had saved all aboard. Mafella wrestled with explaining his decision, based solely on an unexplained inner voice, but the disaster confirmed that instinct had been right. From his high vantage point, Captain Mafella saw the full disaster unfolding. The earthquake was only the first phase. A massive tsunami was forming as the seabed displacement sent enormous waves rushing toward Palu Bay. Unlike normal waves, tsunamis involve the entire water column, carrying immense energy across long distances. Palu Bay's narrow, funnel-like shape amplified the wave's height, turning it into a towering wall of water. Mafella watched as water rose rapidly, lifting boats and flooding coastal roads. Entire neighborhoods were swallowed, with no time for escape. The The tsunami advanced like an endless flood, destroying everything in its path. Radio silence confirmed that emergency communication systems were down, leaving rescue coordination impossible. As the plane flew away, Mafella realized he held vital eyewitness knowledge that could aid future disaster responses. Despite the trauma, his focus remained on safely completing the flight and protecting the unaware passengers. The voice that saved them had fallen silent, but its mystery and the power of intuition lingered long after the crisis. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Don't forget to share this video with your friends. It helps support the channel, and I'm excited to continue bringing you more great content. While Flight 6231 climbed to safety, chaos erupted inside Palu's 4-story control tower. The earthquake caused equipment to crash and power to fail, turning the workspace into a dangerous mess. Most controllers evacuated immediately, but 21-year-old Antonius Aung stayed. On his radar screen, Flight 6231 was still in his airspace, vulnerable in its critical early minutes. Despite the collapsing building and falling debris, he remained at his post, committed to guiding the plane. Aung's decision was driven by a deep sense of duty and professional dedication. He tracked the flight closely, ready to assist despite the risks. When the plane finally left his airspace, Aung tried to leave but found escape impossible. He sacrificed his safety to protect others, embodying courage and selflessness in a moment of disaster. As the earthquake destroyed the control tower, Antonius Aung became trapped. He had chosen duty over safety, staying until Flight 6231 left his radar. Power failed, and emergency lights soon went out, leaving him in darkness. With the plane safe beyond his control, Aung searched for an escape. But stairwells and exits were blocked by debris, elevators were stuck, and windows were unreachable. The tower had turned into a deadly trap. Despite the danger, Aung stayed calm and methodical. His training kept him focused as he explored every possible escape route, refusing to give up even in the face of disaster. Antonius Aung faced a desperate fight for survival as he searched for escape routes in the collapsing control tower. The main stairwell and emergency exits were blocked by heavy rubble and twisted steel. Elevator shafts were trapped and too dangerous to use. Windows were either too high or blocked. Aftershocks worsened the damage, dropping more debris and sealing off potential escapes. Dust and toxic fumes filled the air as ventilation failed. Despite the danger, Aung stayed calm and methodical, using his youth and strength to keep searching. The building's damage was too severe, and rescue efforts began outside as the structure weakened further. Throughout, Aung never wavered, knowing his sacrifice had helped secure the safety of the 148 passengers aboard Flight 6231. Outside the collapsing control tower, rescue teams rushed to save Antonius Aung, who had stayed at his post despite grave danger. The earthquake had caused chaos across Palu, stretching emergency services thin, but Aung's heroic stand made his rescue a top priority. The tower's instability made approaching it deadly, with aftershocks threatening further collapse. Rescue teams had to be extremely cautious, using specialized tools to clear rubble without triggering a total collapse. They heard Aung moving inside, confirming he was alive and conscious, which motivated them to take risks. Working in shifts, the rescuers slowly cleared debris while monitoring the building's condition and communicating with Aung via battery-powered radios. Despite the harsh conditions, Aung remained calm and professional, helping coordinate his own rescue. After hours of painstaking work, the teams reached Aung. He was conscious but critically injured from falling debris and polluted air, his condition worsening rapidly. Rescuers stabilized him for transport, knowing local hospitals were overwhelmed and specialized care was urgent. Even in dire condition, Aung first asked about Flight 6231 and the safety of other aircraft, showing his dedication. Extracting him was risky, requiring careful navigation through unstable debris to avoid further collapse. Every move aimed to get him urgent medical help while ensuring his safety. Aung's courage and selflessness inspired all involved, as they fought against time and danger to save the young controller who had risked everything for others. The race to save Antonius Aung became a desperate battle against time, medical limits, and disaster chaos. Transported from the collapsed control tower, his injuries were worse than first seen. Palu's main hospital was overwhelmed and damaged, with no power and limited resources. Medical staff worked by flashlight, struggling to treat hundreds of victims. Aung's internal injuries, including lung damage from toxic dust and internal bleeding, required advanced care unavailable in the damaged facility. Dr. Sarawijaya, who led his care, called the situation heartbreaking. Despite efforts to stabilize him, Aung needed specialized surgery and intensive care beyond what Palu could provide. Plans were made to evacuate him by helicopter to Makassar, where better treatment awaited. But damaged infrastructure, flooded landing zones, and broken communication systems prevented the evacuation. Radios, cell towers, and satellite links were down, making coordination impossible. Aung's condition worsened as his bleeding increased and breathing became harder. Nurses recalled his quiet dignity and focus on others, always asking about Flight 6231 and fellow victims rather than himself. The helicopter never arrived. With no way to evacuate, Aung died hours after his heroic rescue, surrounded by medical staff who could only offer comfort amid overwhelming tragedy. His sacrifice for 148 strangers became a powerful symbol of courage and selflessness in Indonesia's disaster. Do you believe heroic acts like those of Captain Mafella and Antonius Aung can change fate? Comment below with your take on courage and sacrifice in emergencies. While the tragedy unfolded in Palu, the 148 passengers aboard Flight 6231 were unaware of the disaster they had narrowly escaped. Inside the Boeing A320, everything felt normal. Passengers settled in for a short flight across Indonesia. Some read, others rested, and children played quietly, oblivious to the danger left behind. Business travelers checked messages, families spoke softly, and elderly passengers dozed peacefully. Most did not notice the flight had taken off 3 minutes early, a subtle change that made the difference between life and death. A few might have been pleasantly surprised by the early departure, as delays are common. The cabin crew stayed professional, unaware of the disaster below, keeping calm to maintain normalcy. Captain Mafella, despite knowing the catastrophe, remained composed to avoid alarming anyone and focused on safely completing the flight. The flight continued smoothly toward Makassar, with good weather and working systems. Passengers prepared for arrival, gathering belongings and planning their next steps, unaware of the extraordinary circumstances behind their safe journey. The plane landed gently in Makassar, and passengers softly applauded, a quiet celebration not only of a safe flight but of surviving one of aviation's most remarkable escapes from disaster. As Flight 6231 landed safely at Makassar's Sultan Hasanuddin Airport, Captain Mafella felt relief mixed with lingering unease. Professionally, the flight had been successful, but the mysterious voice urging their early departure haunted him with questions. After completing routine post-flight tasks, Mafella checked his phone and saw missed calls, texts, and news alerts about a major disaster in Palu shortly after they left. Early reports described a powerful earthquake causing massive damage, but later footage revealed the full horror. The runway they had used was cracked and unusable. The terminal was shattered, and the control tower, a 4-story ruin, had collapsed. The captain realized anyone inside the tower during the quake faced near certain death. A tsunami had followed, flooding coastal areas and claiming thousands of lives. The timing of their takeoff 3 minutes early had saved everyone aboard. Mafella then learned about Antonius Aung, the 21-year-old air traffic controller who cleared their takeoff while trapped in the collapsing tower. Aung had sacrificed his life ensuring the safety of the aircraft under his control. The weight of this knowledge overwhelmed Mafella. Their survival was due not only to his strange intuition but to Aung's heroism. That routine radio call had been one of Aung's last acts. As the disaster's full scope emerged, Mafella grappled with explaining how a voice in his head and a moment's urgency had saved 148 lives. Though praised by colleagues, he knew normal explanations fell short. In the following days, Mafella struggled with survivor's guilt, aware that passengers were unaware their lives depended on this extraordinary chain of events. Flight 6231's story became aviation legend, a tale of mysterious premonition and sacrifice. For Mafella, it remains a personal reminder of forces beyond understanding and the cost others pay for survival. Subscribe now for more incredible tales where intuition and courage change the course of history. Don't miss the next hidden story of heroism. In the weeks after the Palu disaster, Antonius Agung's story grew beyond the tragedy to become a national symbol of courage and sacrifice. Indonesian media highlighted his heroic choice to prioritize others' safety over his own life, giving meaning amidst widespread loss. The government honored Agung posthumously as a national hero. President Joko Widodo attended his state funeral, which drew thousands. His coffin, draped in the Indonesian flag, was carried through his hometown amid a large public tribute. Air traffic controllers from across the nation attended in uniform, showing solidarity and respect. Agung's sacrifice became part of air traffic controller training across Indonesia and beyond. His decision to stay at his post was studied as an example of moral courage and professional ethics, illustrating that the role demands more than skills, it demands service and sometimes ultimate sacrifice. The rebuilt Palu airport features a memorial with a bronze statue of a young controller at his console, honoring those who chose duty over safety. International aviation bodies also recognized Agung, establishing an annual award in his name to honor dedication to safety and service. Culturally, Agung became a symbol transcending professions, embodying universal values of heroism and sacrifice. Passengers of Flight 6231, upon learning their survival ode to Agung's sacrifice, were deeply moved. Some attended memorials and created scholarships in his name to support aspiring aviation professionals. Captain Mafella was profoundly affected by Agung's courage. He credited their survival to both his own mysterious premonition and Agung's conscious choice to prioritize duty. Their story remains a powerful testament to dedication and sacrifice in the face of disaster. The story of Flight 6231 and the Palu disaster shows how individual decisions in crises can have profound effects. It challenges our understanding of intuition and heroic sacrifice in avoiding disaster. Captain Rikoeda Mafella trusted an inner voice that defied logic, saving 148 lives by acting on urgent intuition beyond protocols. Antonius Agung's choice to stay at his post until the flight was clear reflects the highest dedication to public service and self-sacrifice. Their actions go beyond aviation, raising questions about human nature, courage, and the mysterious forces guiding critical moments. The passengers who survived owe their lives to these extraordinary choices, illustrating the power of courage and intuition. This story asks how often we ignore inner voices that conflict with rules, and how many disasters could be avoided by trusting intuition despite risks. It also urges us to honor those like Agung who sacrifice everything for others, inspiring future generations to choose duty over safety. True courage often happens quietly, in decisions made without recognition by ordinary people facing extraordinary situations. What defines real courage in crisis? Have you ever trusted an intuition that proved right against all odds? How do we balance protocol with inner wisdom? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more stories of hidden heroism. The legacy of Mafella and Agung inspires us all, showing that in crisis our choices can ripple far beyond what we imagine, proving the power of intuition, dedication, and moral courage over disaster and chaos. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.